morning. My name is Kelly McCormick, and I'm the Director of Events and Programming at the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to IT Basics for Business, a breakfast seminar series that provides a forum to gain useful, do-it-yourself IT solutions and insightful, actionable tips. I want to begin by thanking Uprise Partners for their support that allows us to bring you this virtual event series. And today is the last session in this year's series. Like all Chamber virtual signature events, today's presentation is free and it will be recorded and made available for replay on the Chamber's website and YouTube page. To keep up to date on all of the Chamber's news and events, please visit our website, portlandregion.com, where you can check out our events page, sign up for our weekly newsletters, and follow us on social media. Before we begin today's program, I'd like to remind everyone that we're using a platform called StreamYard. This platform provides improved production and interactive elements that enhance virtual events. When you have questions for our presenter today, you can type them in the YouTube chat. There will be time at the end of the presentation for a formal Q&A session. Today's topic, Out of Sight, Out of Control, a Business Leader's Guide to Shadow IT, will be presented by Kyle Peterson of Uprise Partners. Kyle leads Uprise Partners' cybersecurity and networking practice, partnering with clients to design, secure, and modernize their technology environments. In this role, Kyle oversees delivery across security strategy, risk assessment, network architecture, cloud and infrastructure security, and incident response readiness, ensuring client IT environments are resilient, secure, and aligned to business goals. He also helps organizations improve performance and reliability through proactive network assessments and optimization, segmentation and zero trust access enablement, firewall and perimeter architecture, and cybersecurity roadmap strategies. Prior to this current role, Kyle built and scaled Uprise's managed service practice, establishing the operational foundation, service model, and delivery standards that continue to support clients today. Most recently, Kyle was named a 2026 Next Gen Solution Provider Leader by CRN, which honors rising star executives and directors who are 40 years of age or younger and who are positively impacting the IT industry. Very cool. And now I'd like to welcome to the stage Kyle Peterson.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. Good morning, everyone. Really appreciate you all being here, and I'm excited to do this. These are always really great events and webinars to do. So as mentioned, my name is Kyle Peterson. I'm the Senior Director of Cybersecurity and Networking here at Uprise Partners. And today we're going to talk about shadow IT. So this is something that is happening in pretty much every organization. I would argue it's happening in every single one, whether leadership knows it or IT knows it or not. And I do promise this will not be a very technical, jargony show where you understand half of the things that I say. I want to be very practical in this conversation. I want to talk about the technology risks. I really don't want to dive too deep into the technology because I think that really is the best way to learn and understand this. So before I jump in, I want to give a brief introduction of Uprise. So Uprise Partners is a technology services company. We specialize in helping small to medium-sized businesses operate and help them thrive through using technology to the best of their ability. So we really focus on full service IT and cybersecurity. And really the best way to think about us and what we offer is that we would be your IT department. So that's everything from day-to-day service desk, operating around the clock, through monitoring all your systems, any cybersecurity services, and also board level virtual chief information officer services. So we really are a holistic technology partner that can help you manage the day-to-day and also be that partner that you can go to navigate what's next for your business. So we really want to grow and evolve with you as your business changes over time. And I also want to share some of our accolades that we've received in the industry. So we've been noted as one of the top managed service providers in North America and also one of the top security providers. So we've had numerous awards, as you can see from the list on screen, from the mid-market 100 to the tech elite service provider to the fast growth 150 list. And last year, we were recognized as Business of the Year from the Portland Group Propel. We have a really talented team that works with customers here in Maine, as well as all over the country and now globally. And we continue to grow fast. We always say, as a team, we want to keep raising the bar on ourselves. And so technology changes fast, customers' needs also change fast. We're really looking to see what's next, what we can do better. We're really excited to keep being a great partner to all of our customers. So with that, that's enough bragging and talking about Uprise, and I'll dive into Shadow IT. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're going to cover today. So we'll start by just defining it. So what is Shadow IT? This might be something that you've heard. It may be something that you've never heard of, or you've heard of it and you really don't know what it means. So we want to define that. That's the first step. Then we want to talk about why it happens. So this is somewhere that I really think we can reframe why this is happening, where I think people are, when they first hear about it, they think it's recklessness or maybe people doing something malicious, when in reality, it's really being more resourceful by your employees. Then I want to talk about the real risks that come with shadow IT. And then, of course, number four, shadow AI. Have to talk about AI all the time right now. It's very prevalent. So we'll talk about shadow AI specifically, and then go into what it may be costing you as a business. Again, this could be financially, it could be opportunity costs. We'll dive into that. And then once we've talked through identifying it, understanding it, I want to talk about getting ahead of it. So, what can you actually do? How can you act on it? So, those will be the things that we focus on today. So, what is shadow IT? If we define it, it is really any technology, apps, devices, software, cloud services, any technology like that that an employee uses for work without the knowledge or formal approval of your leadership or IT team. So these are really just tools that the team went out, they engaged with them, they're using them, but they really haven't told you about them. Or maybe you know about them, but you don't know in what capacity they're using them. So you can see on the screen here, there's personal Dropbox or Google Drive. That's a very, very common one that we see. And then most recently, in the last few years, is free AI tools. That could be ChatGPT, maybe something like Claude or Google Gemini. So anything like that is considered shadow IT if it's not approved or known about by you as a leadership team or by your IT department. And what's important about this is that these tools aren't inherently bad. So the behavior of using a personal Dropbox, using a personal Chat GPT, that behavior in itself isn't malicious. It's really just about more visibility for you and understanding why are they using those. And really, when we talk about risk, which we'll dive into a lot going forward, is when people use these personal tools, you don't have any oversight or governance into the security around those apps, the data that's put into that, how that's shared. So we'll talk about some of those risks right here. So looking at the numbers, I know while our team was looking into this, while we were preparing this, these numbers were surprising. It wasn't surprising that these are the effects, but really just how big they were. So the very first one is that 8 out of 10 employees use some form of shadow IT. So you can assume that someone at your organization is using shadow IT in some way. Again, that could be they send something from their personal Dropbox. It could be that they just threw an email into Chat GPT that has client information into it. So when we look at that first number, this isn't just maybe 1 or 2 employees are using it, or maybe that doesn't really apply to my organization. We're small. It it really is becoming a standard practice to have shadow IT. And then looking at the next item, a average annual IT spend on SaaS, which is software as a service, apps that go unused is $43,000. So obviously this is going to depend on the size of your organization and your tool set, but through having tools that overlap with each other, having your end users submit reimbursement for the tools that they're using, that does start to add up. And then 56% of organizations say employees upload sensitive data to unauthorized SaaS applications. So this one is really concerning to me as my focus is in security is uh, if you have a tool like ChatGPT, that by default, if you don't have an enterprise account or you haven't configured the settings, that is going to feed into the large language model. So that is going to train the AI. It's going to really become more public than you want it to be. And a lot of people just don't understand that. So it may seem innocent enough, hey, I want to draft up this email. Can you just help me clean it up a little bit? And it's got potentially financial numbers in there. Hopefully, it doesn't have passwords or anything in it, but it can have sensitive data of all sorts in it. And it seems innocent enough, but as soon as you do that, you have to assume that it's out there, unless again you explicitly set up the security around it to not let it train that. So that's a really important one. And then 78% of workers use personal AI tools at work. So again, we're going from where I think a lot of people view this as maybe not as relevant for them, or maybe cut these numbers in half, I think is the expectation, when in reality, it is much, much more common that people are using these shadow IT tools that IT and leadership just have no governance over. So want to talk about why it happens. And this is really where I want to shift and reframe how we talk about this and how we think about this. So, when we talk about shadow IT with security, the conversation often defaults to employees breaking rules, or they're breaking the rules, they're not doing something right. But we feel really strongly that it's actually missing the point. Um, the reason this is getting done is because employees are trying to get work done. They're basically asking for help, if you think about this. Because if you want to put yourself in your employee's shoes, why would they go to the shadow IT if you're providing them with the tools that they need to do something? And maybe you have a tool that does the job, but you don't have the right plan, or there was no training around it and they don't know that they can leverage it, right? There's a few different things that can be done. But one of the reasons is IT approval is too slow. So only 12% of IT teams can keep pace with new tool requests. So if an employee feels like, hey, I'd really want this tool, but the barrier to entry is very high. I have to submit a request. I need to answer all these questions. I'm not going to hear back for potentially a week, a month, if ever. I might be rejected from it. The IT approval process may not be as smooth as it needs to be. Additionally, the approved tools maybe just don't cut it. So 61% of employees aren't satisfied with the company provided technology. So again, you could provide a tool that maybe does fit, but you don't have the right modules activated, or you don't have the right plan activated. Or, for example, if you don't have an AI tool and your team is really struggling with creating professional emails, or they really need a little bit of help, they may go to something like a personal AI tool, because that the tools that are approved, which is not AI, isn't really cutting it. And then it has become a lot easier for shadow IT to become involved. Cloud tools nowadays take minutes, if not seconds, to sign up for. So they're able to do this on their own. If there is a payment, they could just pop in their credit card, or if they have a company credit card. The barrier to entry there is so easy now, because these organizations really just want your data. So they want you to be able to click maybe two or three buttons, and then you're in and you're using it. So what you as a leader and as an organization need to focus on is trying to make the barrier to entry for your approved tools and maybe adding new tools to that list as low as possible, right? You still want to look at it from a security perspective. You still want to vet the tools. You want to look at the vendors, but you really need to make it easy and comfortable for your team to ask about those tools, to get them approved, and to start using them. And then another piece of this is that remote work normalized it. So 65% of remote workers use non-approved tools regularly. It is a little more difficult when everyone is spread throughout. There's a lot less oversight on these, which is why it's important to have a good IT process and a good IT monitoring mindset to understand what people are using, understand what people are asking for, and really focus on that. So again, I think it's important that we reframe how we talk about shadow IT. It really is not malicious intent or people doing things wrong or being reckless. It's kind of a cry for help. Like it really is people saying, what we have doesn't work. I need this to do my job. And if we do have something that works, please show me how. So I think that's really important to think about it that way. And so as we talk about this, there are going to be some signals, right, that you shouldn't ignore when your team goes to look for its own tools. So they're obviously trying to solve a problem. And again, like I said, it isn't malicious intent, but there are some consequences of using these tools and not using the company approved tools. So the first thing is security exposure. So tools that haven't been vetted, they don't go through your security stack, or they may not fit your policies if you have compliance needs. A lot of the employees may not know every single compliance regulation you may have, your entire security process behind the scenes. They may not know that. So, uh, unvetted tools, they can bypass security controls, they can bypass MFA. Multi-factor authentication is absolutely huge to stop unauthorized access to tools. There's no monitoring, there's no alerting. It's a complete blind spot for you in terms of security. So really important that we eliminate as much shadow IT as we can to minimize that security exposure. The other piece is financial waste. So this is probably the most relevant to a lot of business leaders is the duplicate subscriptions, the redundant tools, and that unmanaged SaaS that is just quietly draining your budget every month. A few $100s here or there. Maybe it's just tens of dollars across 10, 15, 20 employees. You don't really notice it happening. And then all of a sudden you start to realize, oh, we have 3 different versions of Adobe spread across all these different people. Or we have 5 different AI tools. Or for maybe a marketing team, they have 3 different Canva subscriptions, right? Or different marketing tool subscriptions because they all do a little thing better than the other. And your team just isn't collaborating and letting you know that you need these different pieces. So there's a lot of duplicate subscriptions and redundant tools. That is kind of the big thing with shadow IT. And then operational blind spots. So when IT doesn't know that a tool exists or that it's running, can't manage it, plain and simple. They can't shut down access if somebody leaves. They can't cancel the account. They can't look at the data that's been put into it or what's stored in it. So if you have an employee using shadow IT that your team doesn't know about and they are off-boarded or they leave or or something happens there, that data may just be sitting there, totally unattended, can't look at it, can't access it, can't protect it. And so that creates a financial risk, a security risk, and an operational risk. So some of these consequences of allowing shadow IT, or again, not setting your team up for success to focus on that shadow IT and try to pull that out of them so you can get it into a more standardized system. All right. And so again, focusing on security and compliance and what's really at stake. Like I mentioned, there is a big offboarding gap. So when an employee leaves, their access to unauthorized tools is almost never revoked because IT can't do it. And that may be because IT doesn't know about it. And it also could be that they just don't have access. So now you've got to work around looking through logins. You've got to figure out how they were accessing it, reset passwords, and it becomes a much bigger process during the offboarding just to get that information. Again, there's no security oversight, so there's absolutely no guarantee that multi-factor authentication is turned on. Their password for the tool, maybe there's no uh, password requirement. It could just be password 123, right? And it's totally open for anyone to just crack that and get into it. There's really no proper access controls. And then compliance exposure. So I'm sure some of you all have compliance regulations that you need to uh, s- stay up with. So one example would be HIPAA. That's a really big one. That applies to all company data. So it doesn't really matter where it lives. Where if you have it all in your SharePoint or your Google Drive, as soon as that leaves and it goes into another tool, you're still responsible for that data. So you need to manage all those tools really tightly, and that's where Shadow IT makes that pretty much impossible. And then every unauthorized app is an entry point for bad actors. So again, just really hitting on security where every single one of these is a potential for uh, a data leak, uh, compromise. If your IT team can't see it, they really can't protect it. Now I want to jump into some real world scenarios that I think many of you will see and say maybe you've been in it yourself and you've done this. And I imagine everyone here, and I've been guilty of this. We've all used Shadow IT and are probably using it today. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So a real world scenario, we see this a lot, is a marketing employee uses their personal Dropbox to share client files because it's faster than the company system. The data is now on an unmanaged platform and stays there after the employee leaves. So again, if you're using something like a SharePoint or a Google Drive, there may be strict sharing permissions that slows down your ability to share data with other organizations. And then you find something like Dropbox where you could just grab a link and then send it, and then anyone can access it. So it really comes down to the employee prioritizing convenience over security, and then you run into those issues. So right there, understanding, okay, how can we make it easier for our team to either one, share out data more easily, or two, how do we make them understand why we have the security controls in place? Why is sharing maybe a little more difficult than it needs to be? And understanding that it's all based on security and compliance. Another one you may have seen is a sales team member signs up for a CRM that they prefer over the approved one. Maybe it's got some tools and features that they really like that your current CRM doesn't have. Now you've got two split systems where customer contact data lives in a tool that IT's never seen, maybe they've never heard of, they're not backing it up. They can't even access it to review that. So you've got customer set A and customer set B. And now if that employee leaves and you need to reference conversations they've had, if you need to reference data that's been put in there, you just can't do so unless you figure out what tool they were using. And then another one, this is very, very common lately, is a manager pastes a confidential proposal into a free AI tool to clean up the language, not realizing the data may be used to train future models. So again, this one is probably one of the more innocent ones where I think many members of a team will just say, "Yeah, I just want to clean up this email. I'll just pop it in there. I'm not too worried. I'm not asking it to digest the data or do anything." But as soon as you put it in there, you have to assume that it's being used and it's going into that large language model. So really, really important that people understand how to use AI and when it's okay to put data in there and when it's important to put it into another system or leave it out of that. All right. And so jumping into Shadow AI a little bit more. So I've talked about it already kind of throughout this, but a phrase that we hear and it makes me shudder a little bit when I hear it is I'm just using my personal chat GPT account. One of the most common things that we hear is just using my personal one, no worries, it's easy. I'll just throw it in there. And it's really easy to do, right? So why this matters is, again, free and personal accounts have no corporate protections. There's no requirement for specific password requirements. There's no requirement for MFA. Even as you get higher up in the enterprise level plans for something like a Chat GPT, you can put additional controls, additional sign-in requirements, all sorts of security around it. When you look at a free personal account, it is very easy to set up, no requirement to have strict security settings in there, and it's just it's a vulnerability that needs to be addressed. And I mentioned it before, confidential data leaving the building. So this could be proposals, could be financial data, it could be HR information. Uh, People are just moving; they're moving fast. They're not thinking about it, and then they just throw it in there, and then it's out there for everyone to see. Um, and then it is happening right now. 78% of workers are using AI tools. Uh, a lot of them haven't told their employer, or they have a specific AI tool that they don't like, and they're using another one that their team doesn't know about. And again, reframing how we think about it, it is not malicious most of the time. I'd say almost every time it is not malicious, but it is still a risk. You have to consider it a risk. And again, as a leader, business owner, focus on understanding why your tool doesn't work for them or what they're getting out of this new tool. And then how can you either pull that new tool into the fold, or how can you get more out of your existing tools? It's really important to reshape how we think about this, because that is really the best way to approach this. All right. And then talking about SaaS sprawl. So we call it the hidden budget leak. Again, it kind of just happens in the background. You don't really notice it because it's kind of death by a thousand paper cuts, where um, it's a subscription here, subscription there. It's $10, $20 a month that just kind of sneaks in on a credit card, a corporate one or a joint one. Um, but it does add up very quickly. So duplicate subscriptions are big. Multiple teams paying for the same tool. Nobody knows about it. Um, that is a very, very common one. There are tools out there that you can get that actually will identify that. Forgotten subscriptions. So this could be an employee has a credit card, and then they are terminated and leave, but nobody's really checking their statement, and you're just kind of paying the bill. That happens way, way, way too often. So it's really easy to forget those subscriptions unless you have a really tight hold on operations and are reviewing those regularly. And then just going down to no negotiating leverage. So again, if IT doesn't know about it, they can't do anything about it, and they're not going to see everything. That's the hardest part with this shadow IT, is a lot of it is just in the cloud. A lot of it is just a website that people can sign into. There's nothing on your machine. There's no indication that you're using it. So it's really hard for your IT team to do their job if they can't identify it, if they can't see it. So talked a lot about what it is, how you can identify it. Now I want to talk about getting ahead of it. So, what are some actual steps that you can take as a business leader to dive into shadow IT and start consolidating things down and getting everything as controllable as you can? So, this is really kind of a framework that you can take and work off of. It isn't really like a one size fits all, but it's really a good guideline to go through and think about. So, the first step is getting visibility. So you can't manage what you can't see, right? So start with an audit of your tools. So what is on our approved list? And then ask your team, hey guys, what are you using today? What are the tools that best suit you? What have you found success with? What do we have that's working? What do we have that's not working? Maybe more importantly, but just get visibility first. And then before you start banning tools, before you start telling people no, ask why. Hey, I noticed that you use this different PDF software. Why do you use that when we have this one, or hey, you're using this different AI tool. Do we need to as a team get this tool for everybody? Maybe you don't have it. So it's really important to ask the why before you just start shutting things off, because that's not going to help with adoption and it's not good collaboration with your team. And then tightening your offboarding process. So every departure, every offboarding should really trigger a full review of the systems that they were using to the best of your ability. So that is going to help you understand, one, is there shadow IT that we need to look for? We need to understand, okay, did they have this on their card? Were they logging into something regularly? Am I getting emails from a service we don't use, but for some reason they have? So tighten up that offboarding process, and it'll also help you understand, okay, if this person was using this tool, it's likely that other people have that need that we haven't filled yet. So then you can ask your other team members, hey, I saw this person over here was using this. Do you have something similar that you use? And then it's really easy to start building that process out. And then number four, give people the tools that actually work, right? So again, you've asked why, you've understood the need. Now it's time to get them an approved toolkit that they can do what they need to do. Now, again, that could be uh, upgrading the plan of an existing tool that actually serves that function. It could be a tool that someone's using as shadow IT that you go, okay, great. Let's pull that into a more corporate or team plan so we can actually manage and look at it. And now we can keep that tool for everyone to use. So it's really important to give people the tools that actually work for them. And then building a culture of transparency over punishment. So really, really big one, and we'll talk about it a little bit on the next slide, is build that culture of transparency over punishment, right? Um, Employees want to feel safe talking about things. If they feel like they're going to be reprimanded or punished bringing these things up, they're just not going to. It it is a fact. They're just not going to bring it up, or they're going to try even harder to hide it, and that's going to make your job even harder trying to identify those things. And then partner with IT proactively. IT really should not be a bottleneck. Sometimes it is. Sometimes things need to move a little bit slower. Uh, I'd say more efficiently when looking at security tools and vetting them from a security perspective. But partner with the IT team to understand, how do we make the process faster? What do they need? What do you need to make sure that people are we're evaluating new tools that people bring forward? And then again, you remove that incentive for people to just go around you and hide it. So what is the right approach, right? And there's a sort of wrong approach and a right approach to these things. So what you want to avoid is just lock everything down, ban all the tools, punish employees who just go around IT when they didn't even know there was a process in the first place, ignore why it's happening, and then treat it just only as a security problem. Like we've talked about, there are a lot of financial implications that come with this. So you really want to avoid, again, it's important to uh, stay firm and put policies in place and stand by those policies, but you really don't want to just jump right out and just start punishing people, ban everything, lock everything down. What you want to do is gain that visibility. What is actually working? What's running in the environment? How do we fill the gaps that shadow IT is filling for the team? How do we get them these things quicker? How do we look at our review process to get them these a little bit faster? And it really is more of a business and operations issue, less of just an IT and security issue. While those are important, it is bigger. It is bigger than just a security problem. And this is somewhere that we come in, we've helped with. I mentioned before, there are tools where you can discover shadow IT. Um, Everything we've talked about today, so like getting visibility, closing the offboarding gap, managing your SaaS spending, training the team. This is what we do every day for our clients. Shadow IT discovery is really that first step in a new with a new client that we work with. So we look at what's on the machine, What are they accessing? What are some of the sign-ins that they have? How can we identify that? And then we help build a strategy around that to understand, okay, again, where are the gaps? How can we help fill those gaps? What are some recommendations we can make? Um, and what's really surprising to people is how quickly you can get a clear picture of your environment and how actionable things become just by asking the why and just by digging in to those gaps. It is something that maybe takes a little bit to get up, to get running, and you got to just dive in and do it. But as soon as you have that picture, it's very easy to connect the dots and understand where those gaps are. So, um, if any of that resonates with what you're dealing with right now, would love to have a conversation because this is something that we've really focused on and can help a lot of organizations with. So, want to just finish up just talking about the six key takeaways, kind of run through what we've talked about. So, shadow IT is everywhere. It's not a niche problem. It's not a small thing that only affects a small portion of businesses or only these massive organizations. It really affects everyone. Um, Employees aren't the enemy. It is not malicious behavior. It is really that cry for help. It is them wanting to do their job better or more efficiently and needing the tools to do so. And then the risks are real, not just security, which there is a lot of security exposure with this, but there are compliance gaps. There's financial gaps that take place, and it's just kind of a blind spot operationally across the board. And then shadow IT, it's kind of the new frontier for shadow IT. Shadow AI is everywhere. The free tools are abundant. They're very easy to get into, and most employees just don't understand that there is an inherent risk there. They think it's just like Google. They just throw it in there and it goes. Um, right? It's more than that. There's a lot of data exposure there, and then the answer isn't locking down. It is not to just shut down everyone, not to ban every app that hasn't gone through your pre-approval process. You need to get an understanding of what's out there, what does the team need, how do we make people feel comfortable doing that. And then, yeah, you don't have to figure this out alone. Partner with your IT team. Find a partner that can help you close these gaps, get ahead of it, look into it. You really don't have to figure this out alone. And like I said, to get started, it's a little bit of that push. You got to dive in, but as soon as you get that picture, it's very easy to get ahead of it. Great. And yeah, thank you all for the time today. I hope this gives you a little bit more of a clear picture of shadow IT and understanding what it is if you didn't know, and then also maybe some approaches to working on it, identifying it. Really hope this helps. So I'm going to open it up for some questions, and I'll look in the chat here. All right. What if an employee sets up automatic forwarding from an employee email to a personal email? So yeah, that's a good question. So depending on the platform that you're in, uh, there are some rules that you can put in place, whether it's Google or Microsoft, to say that you cannot forward externally, or you can limit where those are forwarded. Only specific users can do it. So that is something that I would, again, understand your compliance needs, understand the data that may be going out through email, and then leverage your tools like Microsoft or Google. If you don't want that to be a thing, you can shut it off. If you There are certain DLP policies or data loss prevention policies that you can put in place that actually look at your outbound emails and say, okay, this person sent out a social security number or a credit card number, right? And it'll actually flag that for your IT team to say, hey, there's an email forward from this person to their personal mailbox. And then also, hey, there's certain data in here that we don't want getting out. So that is definitely forwarding an employee email to personal email would be a security risk. But there are ways, depending on the tools that you're using, that you can identify if something's going out and what it is that has been going out. It's a good question. And then the next one. How do you prevent AI from training on your sensitive data? Seems like an impossible thing to control what others put through the search. Yeah, that's a very good question. So, as I mentioned, there are different versions of. I'll just stick with ChatGPT because I think that's probably the most common. But if you have a certain plan, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I think it might be the enterprise plan, or it could be like their pro plan. You can actually tell it there's a setting that says anything that you put in here, uh, do not train the large language model. So uh, you definitely would want to turn that on. You definitely want to get that plan, and you want to make people use that uh, company plan. And obviously, it's I hate to say impossible. It's almost impossible to stop someone from just going out with their Gmail and making it and then using it. That's where your policy and communication is going to be very important. So it's going to be really important that you have an AI policy that says, here are the approved tools, here's what you can use it for. And if you don't use it for those things, that is where there may be repercussions. And you need to make sure your team understands that and they understand the why, right? Why are there going to be repercussions? Why can't we do that? So really, I would start with understanding the plan that you're on and the security options for the AI tool that you have. Does it fit your team's needs, or are they going to go look somewhere else? And then also make sure you have a really, really clear AI policy and adoption from the team. Uh, because yeah, if there's no clear policy and no clear understanding of why, they're just going to go use another tool, or they're going to go sign up with their Gmail and make that easier. It's a good question. What is at risk when sensitive data is entered into ChatGPT? What are some of the undesired outcomes that could happen? Another really good question. So the risk is that data can get leaked out to bad actors. If you put that information into ChatGPT, it is going to go into that large language model, and it is going to. I'm not going to say it's going to be public, but it is a lot more publicly accessible than you would like it to be. So if you have requirements like HIPAA, like I talked about, that could contain personally identifiable information, so PII as they call it. So that could contain PII, or if you're more in the defense space, like controlled unclassified information, or CUI. Any of that information cannot be put onto those systems if it is going to go into that model. So the real risk with sensitive data entered into there is that it could become exposed to a much larger audience than you want. If you have it not on the LLM, the large language model, you reduce that risk because it is contained to your environment only. It is not sent out and used to train that model. So really, it comes down to data exposure is the biggest risk when doing so. And obviously, if we talk from a business perspective, that could lead to loss of reputation, that could lead to losing clients, that could lead to your own personal organization information getting out there, client list, financial information. So it's a long list of essentially just data exposure that you wouldn't want. So that's a very good question. Then the last one I see here is, how can a company tell the difference between harmless employee tool usage versus shadow IT that is a real security or financial risk? Yeah, that's a good question. So really, it goes back to the why that we talked about. So understanding why are they using that tool. If you go to someone and say, hey, I noticed that you're not using um, this AI tool, you're not using use PDF tool as an example, but you're not using these tools that we pay for, like what's going on. uh, if they really can't give you a good answer of, oh well, it's got this feature that allows me to do this, and this is how I can better serve our team or do my job, that's a good sign of someone who's trying to fill a gap, right? Um, a sign that this may be a little bit more shadow IT, security risk, financial risk would be if maybe they dodge the question. It may be if they don't want to tell you about the tools that they use, right? And then if we talk about the actual data itself, this could be something uh, if they are using um, like a free PDF software just to view PDFs. That's a little bit less risk than something like a personal chat GPT. There's only so much data that can come from that. There's only so many ways to view that data where they just prefer the view maybe that PDF software shows them versus, oh, I'm using a free chat GPT because it's just easier. Again, we talk about data exposure. That's where you're getting into that security, financial, operational risk, is when you start inputting data into these tools, and then there's a potential for that exposure. Cool. Any more questions? Cool. Pass it over to you, Kelly. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, those were some great questions at the end, and I bet this is going to bring up a lot for people um, in their planning processes and onboarding and offboarding. So thank you. There was so much there. And I forgot to mention earlier that we will share a link to this recording in your slides so folks can continue the conversation and get their questions answered. And they can reach out to you via the hello@uprisepartners.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, with that, any closing thoughts, Kyle?
Really, just I've said it a bunch now, but just reframing how we think about it. It isn't something to necessarily scold employees on or reprimand anyone. I mean, if they keep doing it after you've said so, then maybe you have to do that. But it really is just understanding why they're doing it, and that's gonna, I think, open a lot of people's eyes to understanding it more.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kyle. And this was wonderful, and appreciate all of the support from the whole team at Uprise Partners. Thank you for your sponsorship of this series. As I mentioned, today is the last one, and we'll be hopefully getting back started in the fall. I'd love to thank my colleague, Riley Legier, who's been working behind the scenes to help produce another successful event. And of course, we'd love to thank all of you for attending today. As I said, if you're interested in learning more about the conversation, we'll send out a link to the recording and the slides, and you can keep in touch with Kyle and everybody at Uprise Partners. And just another shout out to Uprise. You guys are so wonderful, and the information you've been providing during this IT Basics for Business series has been invaluable. So this concludes our session, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.